everyone. Today I'm going to take you on a virtual field trip. We're going to the town called Vasa. It's 12 miles west of Red Wing, and it's the town that Hans Mattson settled in 1853. Come on, let's go. Welcome to Vasa. You can see behind me a Lutheran church. One of the other important people in the history of this town is named Pastor Neuralius. There's a road named after him in this town as well, and he has some pretty important things in the history of the Lutheran Church. As you can see from the signs, Vasa is actually not that far from us. It's pretty close to Welch Village and pretty close to the Cannon Valley Trail. There's one main road that runs through the town, and you can probably hear some of the traffic noise from the adjacent road, which is over there, and that's Highway 19. Highway 19 runs from Cannon Falls to Red Wing, and you've probably been on that road as well. Right in the middle of town, there's a nice area that holds the History Center. There's a sign over here which explains the history of Hans Mattson and Pastor Neuralius. There's a picnic area over here. There's a community band shell here. And over a little bit further on is the actual History Center. So I'm going to walk over there and tell you a little of the highlights from this sign that is by the or erected by the Minnesota Historical Society. So it just says basically at the top, Vasa, Mattson's settlement, and it goes on to talk a lot about how Hans Mattson settled it and how he was a recruiter. And then if you look in the third paragraph, it talks about Eric Neuralius, who settled in Vasa in 1855. He was one of the founders of Gustavus Adolphus. So you might know someone who has gone to college at Gustavus, but he was pretty important in starting also the state's first Swedish newspaper. There was a children's home in Vasa, which is sort of like an orphanage, and that building still stands as well, but it's been turned into a private home. The town was actually a pretty thriving town, a Swedish settlement, until the 1950s. And in the 1950s was when the post office, the two general stores, which would be kind of like Dollar General, would have a little bit of everything, and the creamery closed at that time. But it has continued to serve as a religious center. When our communities are able to get out again and businesses are open again, I'd like to come back to this community so I can visit this history center to learn more about Hans Mattson and Reverend Neuralius. So you can see here this building has 1877 on it, and this building over here has 1862. There are other things with this as well. Once I go to the front of this, you'll be able to see something else. But it's amazing. Look at the bottom of this building. Okay, that limestone that was used to create that. These buildings have really held up pretty well. And I'm sure there have been some repairs to them over this time. So what I wanted to show you was this. This is called a grinding stone, and it says it's about from 1870. That's the word circa. If you look there, circa means around that time. They don't know exactly. And it says this 3.5-foot diameter grinding stone is the only removable remnant of the granite mill that is known to exist. The combination of stones are fitted together with a center eye and banded together by a steel strap. Pretty cool. I mean, just look. These things are from around 1870. That is pretty amazing. I'll take you around the other side of this building so that you'll know what it looks like if you want to come back here. Obviously, there wasn't air conditioning in 1862, so they've made upgrades to the building. Also standing at this history center is the Swedish flag. That shows the heritage of this town, that it was founded by Hans Mattson, who is Swedish and named after a Swedish king. So just imagine, without the buildings and the things you see in the background and, you know, the rolling hills, this is the area that Hans Mattson saw and decided would be a good place for a settlement. You can see that the main road that comes into town, that one is named after Reverend Norelius Road. This road right here, that's Highway 19. And then down here is actually the sign of Vasa. Well, class, I hope you enjoyed our little side trip, field trip, virtual trip to Vasa. And I hope that sometime you can take the time to come back and drive through this area with your families.